The Anacostia neighborhood is changing, namely the Anacostia Arts Center. The historic Anacostia has been going through modern upgrades in the past 10 years, but progress has increased in the past 3. It's most notably on Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, but now the major changes are happening on Good Hope Road. December 2021, the Anacostia Arts Center was purchased by the nonprofit Washington Area Community Investment Fund from another nonprofit, Arts Development Corporation, with the vision to expand on the center's historic mission to support the local art economy and culture. As reported by Nina Perry Brown, Studios Architecture has submitted a historic concept application on behalf of the nonprofit for renovation and expansion of the building at 1231 Good Hope Road Southeast. The nonprofit will add 2 stories of office space to the building, creating a property that is including a penthouse. These 6 renderings of the new building show the setbacks on the upper levels will create front and rear terraces with indoor and outdoor penthouse amenity space. Parts of the sidewalls of the addition may be offered as mural space. The Hive 2.0 co-working and retail space that currently occupies the building is expected to remain in place. The Art Center is near the intersection of Good Hope Road and Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue and an exit ramp to I-295. This street is turned from a trashy, downtrodden ghetto to some semblance of any other working class neighborhood in the city. The buildings at the end of the street went from boarded up eyesores to renovated vacancies. Inside the Art Center, I saw a beautifully clean and sleek art space. What I didn't expect to see were the retail shops inside of it. Because of the pandemic, the shops have restricted store hours, but I was allowed to go in and take pictures. One of the shops that I went in was called Nubian Human, a fashion, accessories, beauty and grooming shop with home decor and artwork. The clothing were for men, women, and children. All items had an African or Black American theme to it, and I met the owner and I asked him for his best elevator pitch, and this is what he said.
My name is Nate. Welcome to Nubian Human. We are a Black luxury boutique. Everything we carry is made by Black and brown companies throughout the world. Yeah, that's it. Enjoy the store.
The Nubian Human phone number is 202-610-9516 at 1231 Good Hope Road, Southeast DC. And the second location is 211 West Reed Street, Baltimore, Maryland. The second retail shop I went in was a pleasurable surprise to me. It was a healthy food grocery store called the Fresh Food Factory. The store's specialty emphasized local, healthy, and ethnic food. I met the manager and I asked him could I take pictures and take his picture for this video, and he posed for me. The Fresh Food Factory's phone number is 202-744-1873. The website is www.thefreshfoodfactory.com, and the owner, Amanda Stephenson, can be found on Facebook and Instagram. There were other shops on the bottom floor with food and clothing that I didn't get a chance to see, so I pulled this information from the Anacostia Arts website, but I'll definitely check these out on my next visit now that I know about it. Straight from the Anacostia Arts Center's website, the Anacostia Arts Center currently sits on land originally purchased by the Margolis family in the 1930s. The family was well known throughout DC for their vast ownership of property in Anacostia. The location, 1231 Good Hope Road, originally housed 3 separate buildings, which the Margolis family leased to the discount store Woolworths for most of the century. The last 2 decades of the century proved difficult for Woolworths, causing the decline and eventual fall of the once popular store. The Margolis grandchildren decided to sell the Good Hope Road property in May of 1999. Arch Development Corporation, a local nonprofit, was looking to expand. Arch owned the building next door and decided to purchase the property from the Margolis family in 1999, and in 2002 they began construction to transform 1231 Good Hope Road into a job training center for local residents. In 2011, the lower level of the building was renovated to serve as a small business incubator. After receiving feedback from area residents, Arch transformed the upper floor of the building in January of 2013 from a job training center to an arts center. Anacostia Arts Center officially opened to the public on June 22, 2013 during Arch's annual festival, and has continued to grow as a home of the arts and culture. The Anacostia Arts Center sits in Ward 8, Southeast DC, and that means that the Anacostia neighborhood is east of the river. Now, at one point in time, east of the river only meant the location of a neighborhood in DC, but decades later, east of the river meant crime, poverty, and filth. DC sits on the large Potomac River. The Potomac River would have cut the city in half if the state of Virginia had not taken back the land it had promised to give to form the city of Washington from its small Washington district. The Anacostia River is the eastern branch of the Potomac River. So when the black residents began to migrate to the east side of the river in the late 1800s, the white residents slowly began to move away to the west side of the river or further south in Maryland. So went the white residents, so went the jobs, city services, and adequate housing. East of the river then meant living on the wrong side of the tracks. Living east of the river wasn't anything to be proud of or to be bragged about. By the 1970s, 85% of the people living east of the river were black. The initial east of the river neighborhoods were Anacostia and Deanwood, but the larger the black population grew, so did the landmass considered east of the river. Now all of Southeast and most of Northeast is considered east of the river. For decades, all of Southeast DC was labeled a horrible place to live or visit. Even through the heavy drug era in the 1980s, Mayor Marion Barry made it his mission to improve the plight of Southeast DC as well as the rest of the city. Marion Barry served as mayor and as a member of the city council for multiple terms. With all of his accomplishments and accolades for and from the black residents, he suffered a fall from grace when his drug arrest and drug use were made public. But since he was so well regarded in Southeast DC, he made a comeback after being released from jail and was elected again as mayor. He was given the nickname Mayor for Life. After Mayor Marion Barry, other politicians and investors were slow to move on any improvements to the Anacostia neighborhood. But in the last few years, it has been noticeable that the banks, grocery stores, and other retailers have set up shop in Southeast DC. Now Anacostia is getting a huge makeover. Now Good Hope Road is noticeably different from the new paved streets to the new heavy car traffic. Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, or just simply called King Avenue, has multiple new or renovated buildings starting from the intersection of Good Hope Road. All the boards that covered up the windows and doors for years are now gone. And new businesses have opened, and old businesses have new customers. I believe old historic Anacostia is beginning to look a lot like a regular middle-class neighborhood instead of the ghetto that has plagued the area for many years. Anacostia still has far to go to get rid of its drug-infested, angry, unemployed, crime-ridden reputation, but I do believe it's getting better. And I want to add that many of the old residents have noticed that white and Asian people have moved into the neighborhood, which definitely implies gentrification to anybody living in DC longer than 10 years. So I just want to finish out by saying I want to thank my pops for helping me with recording video from the car, and I did promise him lunch if he came along with me. And since we are here in Anacostia, we can't go without showing the famous Frederick Douglass house called Cedar Hill, but I'll have to profile that in another video with another visit to Anacostia.